Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We are continuing our deep dive into this radical feminist book. It has been quite intense because she has brought out her teeth and has really showed the nitty gritty of what she's upon. And so, brace yourselves, for we go to Helm's Deep. Let's begin, Bismillah. The idea that feminism was ever about the freedom to work at all is the greatest gotcha of modern gender politics. Certainly, the fight for equal pay and for access to traditionally male workplaces is and remains vital, because the legal right to support herself is the basis of any woman's independence from men. Okay, so the legal right to support herself is the basis of any woman's independence from men. But most women, for most of human history, have worked. Automation and technology have not freed women from unpaid labor, and more than they have freed paid workers from the obligation to toil to survive. Okay, so toiling to survive is part of human existence, I'd argue. They have simply increased the amount of work to be done. The invention of technology designed to reduce women's labor around the home, like the vacuum cleaner and the washing machine, did not lead to a decrease in the amount of work women were doing. Why do you have to not have work around the home? I mean, the washing machine, the vacuum cleaner is absolutely wonderful. It allows you to have soft carpets, and let's say, for example, I'll be taking care of the tot, and my eldest now has learned how to use the vacuum really well. We got a lighter vacuum because the older one was a bit heavier. It's a very powerful vacuum, and I love it. But the lighter one is easier for my child to use. We got two vacuums, so she's able to vacuum while I'm doing something, or I'm vacuuming while she's with her sister. And the washing machine, I mean, come on. I love that. I don't want to have to do the old-fashioned washing. I put the soap and the fabric softener in, drop the quarters, and then I go about doing whatever it is I have to do. It's on I think it's now 37-minute, 40-minute wash cycle, 45-minute drying cycle. And so that's great. And even if it's raining, I can dry my clothes. If we have the strings to hang dry, but I'm not hang drying my underwear and private stuff out there. And people steal. I don't need no bird pooping on my clothes or the leaves and dust blowing it everywhere. And the kids, they play out there, so they're running through the laundry, knocking stuff off the strings. So the washer and dryer is an excellent tool. And it has allowed me to do more faster. Instead of spending so much time washing by hand, I'm able to do more things, which is great. It just led to an increase in standards and decrease in the number of women being employed as domestic servants in larger, richer homes. Well, you still have dry cleaners, Domestic work is neither eventually distributed nor freely chosen. Women, in particular, are pressured or bullied or passive-aggressively guilt-tripped into doing the vital work of social reproduction because they know that if they don't, nobody else will. Without social reproduction, capitalism would collapse. Okay, so is she contending then that in socialism and in communism, social reproduction doesn't matter? Because clearly China realized their one-child policy was disastrous. But if social reproduction were properly acknowledged, respected, and supported by the monetary system, the growth models of capitalism that we have right now would, you guessed it, collapse. I'm not sure how capitalism is to blame and why, giving people a tax break could be something. But isn't it the feminists who call children crotch demons and stuff like that. They have a very nasty way of, I mean, they don't even respect pregnancy because they don't even call the baby a baby or a human. They call it a fetus. And they always say, like, the parasite. So they don't even acknowledge this special soul within the woman's womb because they just glorify abortion. But now they want money. It doesn't make any sense. This is why universal basic income, the idea of a wage paid collectively by society to support a base level of dignified existence, has always been a feminist demand. So I see how she's getting at. Universal basic income, UBI. Andrew Yang talked about this. I've never heard any feminists argue for UBI. It's always been the Yang Gang. The wages for housework movement of the 1980s, which is enjoying a renaissance, was all about the demand that women's work be recognized and valued. Yeah, but how would you could be a lady smoking blunts all day, your kids' diapers full, and the government should be paying you? The government isn't coming into your house and being like, did you vacuum? Did you wash the dishes? Did you wash the walls? How's your toilet? Is it clean? Is it shiny? How's the tile? You know, they're not measuring your productivity in that way. So you could just be getting pregnant, neglecting your children, and smoking meth, and the government should pay you and give you a universal basic income so you can do nothing? That wouldn't be fair. The good housewives who are frugal, who do a good job with their husbands, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that, and if, you know, our husbands die pleased with us, we have a great opportunity to earn forgiveness for our sins and to get into Jannah. But the government cannot give just everyone universal basic income so that you can spend it on mushrooms, you can spend it on tequila, you can spend it on Burger King. That means you have to raise taxes even more. And if you have open borders and you have tons of illegals flooding in, how are you going to support them? That doesn't make sense. You got to earn your daily bread. Tax breaks are better than giving everyone free money. The wages for housework movement of the 1980s. Okay, so as one of the leaders of the movement, Selma James wrote, okay, so Selma James, let's write down this crazy woman's name. Selma James. Housewives are involved in the production and reproduction of workers, what Marx calls the labor power. They service those who are daily destroyed by working for wages and who need to be daily renewed. And they care for and discipline those who are being prepared to work when they grow up. Labor power. Housewives are producing the labor power. Well, that's okay, so they don't want to be commodified, the woman, but now you're literally saying she's a baby factory. So you're putting it in very mechanical, industrialized terms there, you know. And liberals don't even have that much kids, I mean, and they stuff them in daycare, you know what I mean? And you want, so she's saying housewives should be paid a universal basic income, but then she said it was unfortunate that men want housewives in the previous section. This chick is constantly contradicting herself. She shames housewives, tells women it's a bad deal, they shouldn't do it. Okay? Says the nuclear family is bad, but now she wants universal basic income for housewives. The privilege of having someone to do the boring, thankless work of keeping her household going is not one that most men, even millennial men, are willing to relinquish. I see tons of reels on Instagram that I don't even ask for, where men are doing cleaning videos. And I have to admit, as a woman, it's like, you're watching and there's something nice about it. I remember, this may sound weird, but I remember the first time I saw my husband like clean, like deep clean, like when we moved in with each other, right? And he was like using some type of sanitized towel that's wet with a chemical to clean the outside of the trash can, and it just was really attractive because he cleaned so good and thorough. It's very attractive. Seeing a man clean who has muscles and he's handsome, he's cleaning, it's erotic. And you're like, whoa, that's so strange. Like, why do I feel this way? You know, it's something fascinating. So, Instagram was feeding me reels of men cleaning that I didn't even ask for. And then when you see the views, how many women are fawning over the men who are cleaning. Those men are making, I don't know how, I'm not monetized on Instagram, so I don't know how it works, but they're monetized, they got all those views, they're making money cleaning. So, I saw a woman who gave a vulgar comment. I'm gonna repeat it, but I'll make it PG. She said something along the lines of, if my man cleaned like that, he would be sucked bone dry. And I was like, whoa, she said that on the internet, you know? And so, I don't think, let's put it this way. The man will be thanked. You know, I thank my man, you know? That's something that I like to show gratitude. Oh, thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping me. I appreciate you. I make it a consistent habit to do that. And it's important to do that because people deserve to be thanked for what they do. Boring? I mean, cleaning the bathroom sucks. But if you, hang your bathrobe on the back of the door and then put your phone in the pocket of the robe so you can listen to something as you clean. That's a way to make it less boring. Or give yourself, a nice treat after. Okay, if I clean the bathroom no good, I'll order something that I like. Or I'm going to buy myself some flowers. I don't know. You can make some things fun in life. You know, some psychological tricks. The privilege of having someone to do the boring and thankless work of keeping your household going is not one that most men, even millennial men, are willing to relinquish. By refusing to let go of that privilege, men are directly responsible for edging their wives and girlfriends out of the paid workplace. Since the mid-1980s, according to one recent study, no more than 2% of female high school seniors aged 17 to 18 reported planning to be full-time homemakers by the age of 30. What? That's sad. No wonder why. My daughter said she wanted to be a homemaker, a housewife, and the teacher told her, but how will you have any money? And she said, my husband. And the look on the lady's face was shocked, you know. But there's nothing wrong with being a homemaker housewife. That's the true freedom. That's the princess status, regardless of what the LinkedIn wenches say. But by that age, 15 to 18% of women have left the workforce to care for children. And what's wrong with that? Your children are only teeny tiny tots for a short time. Oh my God, it's you gotta, if you have your children, let's say, closer in years together and you family plan, it's not so bad, you know? It's weird how she makes work seem more important than children. She makes work above children. I'm gonna write that in attention. She puts work above children, money over memories. That's what she's doing here. She's truly wicked. In part because of the rising cost of childcare. So she complains about the rising cost of childcare, yet she was complaining that women can't afford nannies and that nannies are paid cheap. So, if you pay a nanny cheap, you're bad. And women are suffering because they can't afford to pay female nannies more. It's okay, you can't just pay everyone $200 an hour to be a nanny if you don't got that cash. I mean, if you're working at CVS, an 8-hour shift, how much money have you made and how much do you have? And how is the government, the tax system, why should they subsidize that? I don't know. Some, like, why should your child care be paid for? Why not maintain your family structure? Why not pick a better man to procreate with? Why not invest in keeping your family healthy and functional to where you can depend on and rely on each other? Why is the government consistently placed as like the end all be all to your problems? A great many women who have given up paid work, reduced their hours, or curtailed their leisure time have been effectively coerced into doing it. Coerced by individual male intransience and economic order that refuses to value the essential work of care. Okay, but it's only temporary. It's only temporary. It's not going to be like that forever. Okay? When your kids are grown, you know, you'll have plenty of time to go and do your shitty customer service job. There are, as we have already seen, any number of situations where male dominance operates on a structural level, where individual men are not really to blame for women's lack of power over their lives. No man is in control of your life. You are. Who you chose to let hump you and bust in you, that was your choice. The government can give you a tax break, but there has to be strings attached to that. Otherwise, you're going to get people who abuse it. When it comes to the home front, men's learned laziness is the problem. Men's learned laziness? This is a tough one. If you live in a house, I expect a man to be able to do handyman jobs. Or he has to be able to have the money to pay for it to be fixed. So if he can't fix the plumbing, he must have the money to pay someone to fix it. He must be able to pay another man to do the job he's supposed to do. And some men, they don't know nothing about cars. So if you think about, like, my grandpa's generation, they knew way more handyman stuff, and that has changed. The younger males, it's not as common. You know, how to change the oil, how to change the tire, if there's something wrong with the car, how do you deal with it, installing something in the home, you know. Now that's all service. Okay, call somebody. But I'd argue that there are men who, they have their duties of the outdoor activities, and then the women are the indoor activities. I'd rather shovel snow than clean the bathroom. I'd rather mow the lawn than clean the bathroom. So if you want to switch, like, okay, I'll do mowing the lawn, you clean the bathroom, then have that conversation. You can organize it in a way that's effective. It is men and boys refusing to give up the privilege of having someone else take care of their domestic needs who are standing in the way of progress. Actually, there's a large rate of single mothers, and clearly they're going to have their boys chip in. And I think those boys, they're definitely going to have to see what it's like for a woman to struggle and do it all herself if the mom tells them. You see? I don't know if my mom makes my younger brother do any chores. I haven't talked to her in over a year. I've kind of avoided communicating her for a while, but she made him get a job, so he works at a pizzeria. The last time I checked, he's in high school, so, you know, he pays the Wi-Fi, I believe, in the cell phone bill. But I don't know if he's gonna be lazy or what, but I think he has to have some brain cells and see that, you know, cleaning is something normal. Studies have shown that men who claim they have different standards of cleanliness become resentful and even aggressive when women don't keep up the standards they claim not to care about. I can hear that a little bit. My husband is more of a neat freak than me, uh, but we make it work, you know. But but he tolerates my OCD-ness, you know. Like we have everyone has that their compromise, you know. Young mothers of my generation are struggling hard to solve that impossible equation, trying to do at least two full-time jobs at once and retain some agency over their lives. The fact that most mothers of young children work incredibly hard and sacrifice more than you dare to conceive of doesn't mean that the hard work and sacrifice are necessary, useful, or an inevitable part of a woman's lot. So, where you want to just delegate it all out? If you want to be the queen and have a mansion with servants, marry a rich man or get that money yourself. That's the only options for you, babe. You know, if you don't want to raise your kids, you want to have a nanny, you want to have someone do your laundry, you want a landscaper, either you got to earn that money or you got to buckle up, buttercup, and get you a stag. That's all there is to it. She wants, like, the government to, like, make every woman have this Barbie mansion by taxing the population into a communist utopia and then just trusting the government with all the money. You know, I don't know if that's possible. She can move to a country that she feels has that. The more power you give the government to invade your life and control your finances, the less free you are. You're only here for a limited time. No one knows how they'll die, when they'll die, where. Nothing. You don't know. You don't know. So, as me as a Muslim, I'm here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fight against evil, try to get nearness to Allah through studying the deen and stuff like that. But I have accepted and spiritually awakened to the fact that my goal isn't to chase money. I don't worship the dirham. I don't worship money. It's nice. I'm not saying that I'm gonna be a hermit in the mountains like Tarzan and just being about and neglecting civilization. I understand I have a duty to participate in the civil society. I understand. But I don't think I'm owed a giant mansion and money like the Kardashians, because I prefer the hereafter. And any level of suffering, even if it's the prickling of a thorn, sins will be forgiven, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swift in accounting, and what matters is my deeds, and my reward is a deferred payment in the hereafter. So, for an atheist, they don't really see raising children as something that great and that you can create heaven on earth. I just don't believe it. You can fix problems for sure, but there's a limit and a boundaries to where you want to involve the government in your life. Someone who claims to be afraid of fascism sure does want a lot of government intervention to the point where she wants universal basic income. Do you think the government's just going to give you universal basic income with no strings attached? No. You want to be able to have a way to earn. Just the fact that they're reducing cash and making everything digital, and that banks can freeze your accounts willy-nilly now over social statements. You can be put on a no-fly list very trivially. The more you allow the erosion of the private market to be controlled by the government, you're going to have a problem. You want a balance between public and private. So I don't think that you can expect the government to fund your luxury lifestyle. It's just not going to happen. The cruel and concrete consequences of all this are that many heterosexual women, considering whether to start families, face a choice between a family life in which they risk being exploited by those who are supposed to love them, forced to do years of thankless drudgery while trying to keep a lid on their anger. Okay, so keeping a lid on your anger, I had to work on that. Because America teaches us to be very masculine and domineering. And this is where you have to be very feminine, and the drudgery gets rewarded through intimacy. So drink a nice herbal tea that stimulates you, and have more intimacy with your husband. Adore your husband, paw at him, cuddle with him, you know, kiss his triceps, whatever you want to do, play with his beard. The more delight you take in your significant other, the less you'll feel exploited. Like what you see. If you're reclined in your feminine energy and you see your sweaty, muscular beast come home from work, well, you're going to feel a sense of pleasure. And it's not going to feel like exploitation. And take joy in making him food. I like him eating the desserts, appetizers, and things like that. I like seeing him eat it. It gives me physical happiness. Like, I can feel it in my body. Making him his coffee, having things there for him, all kinds of stuff. Serving your husband in family life and enjoying your youth is wonderful. Excuse me. You're only going to be sexy for a while, and it's going to fade. And then, who knows, when I'm 60 years old, 70 years old, I'll have to find a way to make it work. But, you know, it's hard, like, when the children are having tantrums, like right now, one's probably fighting over a toy. That's hard to be romantic, you know, when you haven't slept, and the tots are not happy, or something like that, or they want a toy, or they're not sharing, or something. But at nighttime, you know, your man can put down the sugar, and that's gonna be great. See, she doesn't have that spiritual connection to the masculine side of a man, and it shows. You risk being exploited by work constantly. Like, I'm so glad I just woke up to the fact that work doesn't provide the same pleasure. You know? It was so wonderful, like, when I have my baby and I'm breastfeeding, and I have, like, a shawl wrapped around me, and we're snuggling in my breastfeeding chair. It's really cozy, and I'm listening to, like, I have my phone on a tripod, listening to a podcast. My eldest is at school, and I'm in my little nest with my baby, and it's so relaxing and peaceful. Not, oh, I gotta hurry to the daycare and drop my tiny tot off, and then I gotta rush to work, and, you know, gotta have this and that. No, it's slowed down. Taking my baby to walk, and we go by the ocean, seeing the boats come in, the seagulls. No. My husband thanks me in multiple ways, and you can decide how it is your husband thanks you and how you thank him. You know, gratitude is so important. Anger is a big thing you have to watch out for. Don't suppress it, because then it becomes this sort of infestation in your brain. But you have to have a way to let it out and communicate, and how you express your anger says a lot about you. Or no family life at all, in the traditional sense. This means that women are held hostage to their own relationships. No. You're not a hostage in your own relationships. You chose him. You allowed him to mount you. You were moaning and groaning. You decided to stay in the relationship. And no, a hostage is not there. They did not want to be there. You see how feminists play with words here? Diluting the word hostage. A hostage is a very terrible thing to be part of. Someone has something to your head, a weapon, and they don't care at all your well-being as the hostage, only about what they're gonna get as a reward. Okay? If you don't give me this, meet my demands, this person gets it. Like, the relationship between the person who's taken the hostage, like, so the criminal and the innocent hostage, is an unhealthy one. You can't compare a man to a criminal who's taken a woman, an innocent woman against her will, hostage. A hostage denotes someone who's there against their will, who is afraid, and who isn't cared about very much at all. They're expendable. She's basically saying here that husbands see their wives as these expendable, frightened, traumatized beings, and this just isn't the case. The relationship is always voluntary. She's putting you in a prison right now. She's putting you in a mental prison. No, you always have a choice to walk away. But that whether you stay or you go, there's going to be difficulties either way. You leave the relationship, you'll face hardship. You stay, you're going to face hardship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this earth a tough place. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. If the oceans are not still all the time, what makes you think life will be still all the time? The wind is sometimes flat and other times it's really breezy. The wind fluctuates. Okay? Every day you look in the sky, the clouds are different. Is there a lot today? Is there a little? It's always shifting. Same with relationships. So, beware of this brainwashing here. It means that most women can't, practically speaking, just leave a partner who is selfish and unloving. Maybe you should have studied the bull before you let him impregnate you. Okay? If a man is selfish, he shows the selfishness in the beginning. And even if someone is selfish, you still can navigate that. You know, there's still a way. As long as you're taking care of the thoughts, then you have to recognize that there's a goal in mind. Raise the children with a happy childhood. And maybe if you want to divorce when they're older, you do it when they're older. But you have to make sure that you're not leaving the relationship for your own selfish reasons. So, just leave a partner who is selfish. By leaving the relationship, you too are proving you are selfish. You're proving that you're putting your happiness before the happiness of your children, before the stability of your children, and that you can't cope with a little discomfort. And unloving, love yourself. You're gonna tell me that there's women who have authority and power, but they had to sacrifice love. You can ask some women that. Hillary Clinton, her husband embarrassed her on the world stage. But she kept in the marriage and she got her power. She's like a feminist icon. You have to remember, not everyone's gonna get love, and you can live without love, but you can still get intimacy from your husband and provision without love. You can be with a broke man and have love. Love don't pay the bills. So you have to ask yourself, what do you actually want? You want to be broke, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, humping, and, you know, watching bed bugs on the wall? You know, is that how you want to live in squalor? Because you got love? Do you want to be like Jasmine and Aladdin? Do you want to be the rich girl and then you marry someone for love who is a street rat, and then you fund his lifestyle? Or do you want to be Belle, who stays with the beast and he eventually slowly changes, but she gets the mansion, the giant library, and a bunch of servers? There's some funny, interesting examples in the Disney cartoons, you know? There's all kinds of stuff in folk tales, in religion, you name it. You're going to have to decide what it is you want, but you're never a hostage. You chose it, and no matter which path you choose in life, you'll be tested. That's why it's healthy to be a Muslim, because you realize happiness is not a permanent state of affairs. You have to know to roll with the punches. And pretending that men don't struggle, like, I do feel bad for men. You know, they're women. We will age. We will sometimes gain weight. We have a period that puts us off the market for 7 days, you know. Some women don't even have a high intimacy drive, and the men suffer. It's men have a hard time as well. Okay, they have a hard time as well. Young women are still taught by implication and example that a good marriage is one in which a woman is not at risk of being maimed or killed, rather than where she is treated like a human person whose life, energy, and time actually matter. Okay, you're wrong. Because those are related. A good marriage is one where you're not in physical threat of having your life ended. That's a good standard by any means, okay? Now, your husband will treat you like a human being whose time and actually matters. If you treat him that way, a lot of it is how do you treat him? Are you overestimating how much you give to your husband? And why did you choose a man who doesn't value you? Accountability. You need accountability. I'm very tired of women always acting like they didn't have a choice to who humps them. The woman receives. Think of the woman organ. The man has to enter into her. She has to open and consent. Her organ, our vag, goes over the man. We receive. You consented to that. You allowed him to continue. And then you say, oh, he's bad this, he's bad that. Like, no. You have to have a sense of, hey, I made this choice. I didn't do a good job. It's my fault. I should have done better. Maybe people gave you advice about him and you didn't listen. You know, maybe you were filled with lust and you made bad choices. Maybe you were using drugs with him and you both did bad things. You should have stayed sober. Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure a woman can recognize how she played a part in her own demise. The only reason that this is still tolerated within heterosexual relationships is because the bar is that low. Okay, lesbian relationships, domestic violence rates, the adultery level in gay male relationships. They have Grindr, they have apps, they just go and ram each other's bums. You know, they have open relationships. Gay men have high rates of open relationships. So, if you're allowing someone to literally mount your partner, you have a very low bar, okay? Cuckoldry is not healthy. Many of the women who have told me tearfully that they didn't expect marriage to mean years of hassling an apparently educated adult man to pick up after himself follow that up by saying, but he's a good person. He would never hit me. I mean, I've been hit by a man and I've hit men. If you have a man who won't hit you, but he sometimes doesn't pick up his towel or does something dumb, or he doesn't put his slippers away, you're doing pretty good. And I've been examining, like, the character Negan from The Walking Dead and Ramsay Bolton. It's like, there's a bit of the female psychology that's attracted to, I find this within myself. It's like this a very violent man who's attractive but is capable of extreme cruelty. It's like, he wouldn't hit me, but he'll hit other people. Like, it's a very fascinating thing. I think that's why some women write love letters to serial killers. I mean, that's scary, but I'm talking about fictional. Like, you have a fictional character, you know? And then you have women who fetishize being hit, being subjected, which is the whole BDSM movement. And, oh, but that's with consent. Yeah, but some women do like being dominated. That they're so potent that a man who can overcome their domineering nature, they fall for him. So it's women are an enigma. There's so many spectrums. But to pretend that lesbians and gays don't have violence in their relationship or problems is a lie. She just wants to destroy heterosexuality. Women in heterosexual relationships are still expected to settle for decades of disrespect. Okay, so the disrespect, how is this happening? Are you coming off like a diva? Like, don't you be doing this on me? And you're not going to have a man respond like that. What I've learned is the playfulness and the allure. A man will respond to that way better. You learn this later on. Caressing the back of their neck, walking up behind them and hugging them, giving a compliment, kiss, you know, other things you can do, which we won't mention, that'll make a man feel good. You want to boost him up, you know, you want to rejuvenate him, calm him down. You come in hot and, like, aggressive, like a ram, just coming in with the horns, head button. It doesn't work because their will is stronger. It doesn't work like that. You have to be so careful. whereas men are politely asked not to commit murder. No, I mean, it was the liberals like her who are soft on crime. A lot of religions had strict punishments for people who did atrocities, but the liberals, they are the ones who complaining about Bukele, the leader of El Salvador, treating the gang members wrong, saying human rights, human rights. Oh, the inmates shouldn't be treated this way, but they're monsters, and it's the liberal women who are shedding tears for these men. Constantly you'll see this, so it's ironic that she's talking about men being politely asked not to commit murder when the liberals are the ones saying defund the police and send social workers. It's fantastic. This lady's insane. Women are obliged to put up with a certain degree of unhappiness in their marriages, while men get to walk away and often do as soon as things get difficult. That's such a lie. Such a lie. Women... Okay, this is where we gotta bust this bubble here. Maybe in her community, men go say they're gonna go get a pack of cigarettes and don't come back. But if you look at Chinese people, their marriage rates, look at the marriage rates by culture and country and how long they stick it out, okay? You're gonna tell me that men are always happy with their wives? I have realized a man with a fat wife, that's just not, he suffers. He can love her, but he suffers. Okay, he suffers. Especially in an age where adult content is just way out everywhere. And he wonders in his head, you know, why can't I have someone who looks like that? Everyone has to put up with a degree of unhappiness. It is not possible. I mean, the weather changes. Winter, summer, spring. Everything is always changing. The moods in your relationships are gonna always change. Who the hell thinks you're gonna always be happy in your relationship? That is patently absurd. I mean, we have a period cycle. When you're ovulating, you're super wanting intimacy. When you're on your period, you're very irritable. Yes, these are generalities, but... And then there's women who are bipolar, schizophrenic, have mental problems, PTSD. I mean, what? Even some women are unhappy, not even because of their man, but because they didn't have money to buy something, or a girl said that their hair wasn't cute, or the lady at the nail salon was rude, or like... If life at work is not always happy, if your kids don't always make you happy, if you don't even make yourself always happy, how the hell can you expect your husband to always make you happy? Life isn't about always being happy. You have to know how to deal with that pain. That's being a real human, in my opinion. Handling sadness, anger, and whatnot with sobriety and maturity and steadfast and gracious patience. The one thing that would make this problem vanish is dependable, well-paid, affordable childcare, free for those on low incomes, tax deductible for everyone else. Okay. Childcare. The feminist fighting for someone else to raise her children because she doesn't see children as important. She doesn't see spending time with your child and seeing the memories as important. So, memories go out the window with her. If any woman who has had working and then got to be a stay-at-home mom, how much more you get to see with your children, how tighter the bond is. The goal should be pick a man who will retire you from the workforce and you will enjoy being with your children. It shouldn't be stuff your kids in a daycare with a bunch of other random kids and isolate your children from you so that you can go to work and get money, so that you can get Botox and a Brazilian butt lift and a new dildo. That shouldn't be the goal in life. You know, oh, well, who cares about taking care of my kids? I'm going to get some money because I'm going to go to the Bahamas. You know, mommy wants a boob job, so I gotta go, you know, get this money, baby. Here, take care of my tot. Imagine letting other people see your kid's private area. That's super creepy. You're gonna trust people in a daycare with smartphones, and when there's online exploitation material of infants and children, you're gonna trust them with your kids? Where they could beat your child, hurt, pinch, slap, kick, neglect, smother, whatever else, your little one, and you wouldn't even know because they don't have the words to describe it, but your money was more important than your kid's safety. She doesn't respect women. She doesn't respect our gift of raising children. Most states refuse to pay for this, and the problem isn't simply the price tag. The problem is that publicly available childcare would give women far more bargaining power than the world wants them to have. Okay, publicly available. Okay, this is gonna lead to a lot of people being put on. So Canada has the MAID program where you can, if you're old, they can put you down. And there's old folks homes growing. You don't build that bond with your kid. When you get old and you're vulnerable, your kid is going to say, sayonara, I'm going to stuff you in this facility like you did to me when I was little. And then the whole purpose of family erodes. If you're going to be a single mom and you gave up on your relationship and you picked a bad man and you won't become a second, third, or fourth wife, and you have personality traits that make no one want to marry you, and you haven't taken care of your body, and you have to go to work, okay? And you don't have a family or someone to help you, then I understand in that circumstance that you will need help with childcare. But you cannot underestimate the spiritual bond you have with being with your kiddos. And you need to find ways to make it more fun. Crafts. You could have them help with chores. Painting. Baking with them. Going on nature walks. There's a lot of things you can do to make the time with your children matter. Because when they fly the nest and you're alone in your home and the memories you've made with them come to you, you'll remember. It's really something to think about. Women and femmes who plan to have pardon me. Women and femmes who plan to have children would no longer need to shackle themselves to lackluster, undependable men because they cannot afford a child without a co-parent. Okay, why'd you pick a loser? Why'd you pick the loser? Why did you let a broke man pregnant you? Why did you choose to put out before you got the ring? And how much do you really need to afford a child? Do you just need to move? What is it? Really something to think about here. Huh. How sad for the children. Imagine your mom doesn't want you. I think about how when my mom was a stripper, she used to put me with nannies, and then after work she'd go drink and who knows God what else. The nanny would call my grandma who lived in another state and say like, oh, so-and-so hasn't come and picked up me, you know, I picked up the baby, do you know where she is? My grandma would be like, I have no idea. And how many times my mom did that. And man, I'm really thankful that I survived my childhood because no one wanted to take care of me. Nobody did. And my dad, like my mom would like go over there and be like, you have to take care of this child. My stepmom told me this, one of my old stepmoms. And she'd be like, I have to go to do some extra stuff, and here's the kid, and like just hand me to them. And my dad would pass me off to my stepmom. And sometimes when I visit him during the summer, he would just like, leave me in the house and go off. Like he didn't even spend much time with me. He'd go out in the night, doing who knows what. And I would just be there with the dogs, you know. Then my grandparents. My grandma was a stay-at-home woman. She didn't ever work, but she didn't want to spend time with me either, but always send me away. I remember a couple of daycares. I didn't like the feeling. So I knew in my heart, no one wants me. I'm always in these facilities. I'm always put somewhere else. That's a tough feeling as a kid. It's just, and then and it didn't make me more social, because I'd stare at the other kids like, get away from me. I was a kid who wanted to be like in nature, climbing trees, running around with the dogs. Like I didn't want to be around all these stupid kids who I'm forced to be with in this tiny stupid facility, you know? I didn't have the personality to get along too well in large groups of people with all different personalities conflicting, and I can get violent. You stay away from me. I don't want you to touch me. Get away from me. I want to be in my own world, do my own thing. The only nice nanny that I had was my dearest friends, and her mom was a Mormon lady. She had a backyard and a little playground, and she would watch lots of the neighborhood kids. And I still am friends with her today, and her mom, who was my nanny, the daycare lady, she had her own daycare in her house. She is involved with my children more than my mom is, and I have a special connection to her, and I care about her and love her a lot. But she didn't do that for so long, and I don't know what happened. I think she got too old for it, and her health started to affect her, so she couldn't keep it up. But that was a safe environment. I don't know how much my grandparents paid, but the fact that my grandma just didn't want me around. Maybe some people would argue, oh, she wanted you to have friends and socialize. My grandma just didn't even care where I was. I walked to school by myself, went home by myself. She never made me breakfast, never made me school lunch, never asked me how my day was. I was just a thing. I'm glad I ended up with her, though, instead of in foster care. But I don't think daycares are a healthy place to be. Maybe there's kids who liked it. They hate that was safer for them to be at daycare than with their parents. But I don't like it. Like my dad would always leave me with people. And it's like, I came here for the summer. Hello, why don't we be together? And it's just like, oh, go over to my girlfriend's cousin so-and-so's house, and I'm with these people, and I'm like, oh, the hell are these people? You know? And that's why only one time did I have to put my daughter with my husband had a coworker, and his wife was a stay-home woman, had a daughter of similar age, and I took my daughter there because I had to have a medical appointment, and it was my husband, he couldn't get the day off, and I had to go, because when it comes to medical appointments, you're not always able to get the appointment you need. Looking back, I could have taken her there, but she was too small to kind of hold still at that time, and she was only there for a little bit while, and the lady said she had cried for me a lot, and I was afraid, of leaving her there. But she seemed like a chubby Latina lady, very nice, but I still was just filled with anxiety, and ever since then, my school schedule, my work schedule has always been around my children, not me. And my heart would be broken. I have such a strong bond with my children. Even you can get tired of them, like they're being bad, they won't eat their food, or they made some mess when you weren't looking, or they broke something accidentally. Yeah, they're stressed, but the bond I have is tight. I feel like dragon guarding her baby dragons. That's how I feel. Like, I like to have, I'm a guardian. Like, I'm a full-on guardian. I've only had maybe a couple people ever visit where I live. And one was a math tutor who was trying to help me pass this math test, and they were not able to meet me on campus. And the other was my dearest friend, who her mom was a nanny. Other than that, no one's been allowed into my abode and my nest around my children. I protect my children from evil people, and they can play at the playground with kids. And I don't want them in a daycare. I don't want anyone having access to my child's private area in the age where degenerates are everywhere. No. I don't trust it. And if you recall, I'm not going to do preschool with my second, because with my firstborn, it was a nice preschool, and who knows where the hell these teachers were. They were not paying attention, and they these other kids put a jump rope around my firstborn's neck, and 3 boys, and they hurt her, and I had to sign these forms and stuff. And looking back, I get so angry I wasn't there to protect her. I was taking a class, and so I said, oh, she'll be in preschool, learn her ABCs, and I'll take an extra class. And then I felt so guilty inside that I was taking a class and she was getting bullied, and I wasn't there to save her and protect her from these 3 treacherous boys. And the teachers who I had trusted to protect her failed. And that rocked me. And so I take my children to, well, my eldest is in school, the youngest is not. I take my eldest to school, I take her there, I pick her up, I'm involved in the campus. Like, she's not allowed to walk home alone or go anywhere alone. Like, I'm there with her, and if you want to get to her, you got to go through me, and I'll put my life on the line. I don't want her to suffer the same traumas I had to suffer, being an only child for a long time who wasn't wanted. And so, when this woman trivializes the importance of a mother protecting her child and thinks that strangers can do childcare the same, it's just not the case. Okay, so I hear the kids, they're probably arguing. So I'm going to go check on them. But the little one is a bit fussy. She goes on her sister's bed and takes all the stuffed animals. The eldest gets upset. Or the eldest is drawing, and the little tot, she takes the pencil and scribbles, and then they're fighting over that. You know how it is when they're a certain age. So I'm going to go check on them and appreciate the time that I have to be with them. And I appreciate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed me to be with my children, even though some days are harder than others. So let me know what you think. I'd be curious. And thanks for tuning in. And if you'd like to support my work, I'm not monetized. You can do so by going to www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.